I'm Quinn Lemley with Secrets of the Stage. This is the place where we pull back the curtains and we dive into the creative process. And today I am so excited because I have Michael Daly III, the CFO of Executive Ventures.
Yes.
We have so much to talk about. You're doing hydrogen, you're doing water, clean water in Pakistan. You've just been invited to go to Pakistan.
Yes, by Marsh, the insurance company, and the Prime Minister. We've been working with them for over 5 years, looking at opportunities where we could help de-risk Pakistan and redevelop the economic system there and the entrepreneur system there.
How exciting. Now, how did you get involved with this, and how did you even know about the system there?
Well, I had several students when I was teaching as an adjunct.
Where were you teaching?
At Stony Brook University.
Wow, so that's a great school.
It is. It's number 40 in engineering, and Dr. Wolf, he was there. He's the gentleman that started Michael Dell and Dell Computers. But
wow.
I met him, and we were talking about developing the business school at Stony Brook, Harriman School. Mm-hmm. And he suggested that we co-teach a class about entrepreneurship. And during that period of time, a lot of the students came from the Middle East and from Pakistan, Bangladesh, China.
I've met a lot of your students, and they're glowing, and they've gone on to do so many great things.
Some amazing things. One is looking to become the president of Haiti, Jude.
Yes.
Another one.
I have a picture of us together.
Yes, he's a wonderful man and smart, and I'm really glad he's taken the reins of his career and went out to do good for others.
But just hearing him talk, you were a huge catalyst for him and for a lot of people. I'm not blowing smoke. I just, when you see people that are doing things like that, becoming the next president.
Yeah, we have several of them, prime ministers,
yes.
And they're moving up, they're now coming of age. We gave them the tool sets of the blue bloods. Mm-hmm. And also the fortitude to actually see it through. Mm-hmm. And it's working. And in Pakistan, we're hoping to do that. I know in Iraq, the Prime Minister has asked me to do something there. I did scope out some things there already. My dear friend...
Are they very different animals, Iraq and Pakistan?
They are, but they have a common core of being Muslim. Mm-hmm. And so you'll find that when the Muslim people take you in, they're very kind to you. Mm-hmm. And they work with you, and they're very good people.
I did plays all over Turkey, and so I was taken into many Turkish homes, and they've fed me and took care of me.
They care for their friends extraordinarily well.
I just want to say this because I think that so often we hear about conflict in the world and Israel, and I think that when we we break bread and we know each other not as something else and as people, that's where peace comes in.
Sure, they say that where there's a good economy, good trade, there's low war and there's low conflict. It's just you have to get to the table, sit down and understand the conflict, and then make adjustments. And I think that when you do that, you can come to terms. One of the groups I belong to is Business Council for International Understanding, and that was started by Hank Greenberg. Many years ago, and what he decided to do was try to create a forum of all the ambassadors around the world so that they can get together and off the record. They always say that at every meeting. Join together, break bread, meet one another, talk to find out what their happy things are and their unhappy things are, and see if they can come to an understanding. And it's been quite successful. And I look forward to maybe spending the next 20 years working more and more on that. I know you had my friend Sir Gary on.
Oh, he's marvelous.
Oh, yeah.
What a story.
Yeah, it's
Sir Gary Kong.
Kong, yeah. And when I first met him, my foundation was giving money to a Confucius Society in Flushing. And I was looking at him, and my wife at the time, Lan, Jean, she said, I think he would make a good candidate to work with to help the Chinese people. And he's been turned out to be an extraordinary man and philanthropic. I know he'll be joining with me in Pakistan. They want to meet him. We just came back from Zurich.
Wow.
And Oslo, Norway.
How wonderful.
And we structured several business ventures there that we're looking for. One is in the water purification. Another was in salmon. salmon. Yes. Well,
in Pakistan?
No, in
Norway.
Norway.
In Norway. I was like,
no. But in Zurich, we did some work there with a company that we're now representing. It filters water, and it's very inexpensive.
Now, that's in Zurich, but what you want to do in Pakistan, you were saying
it's very similar, though.
It's very similar, and that you're going to clean because of the sand.
Well, the hydrology there is very difficult.
Can you explain it to a layperson like me?
Okay, so it's like in the ground. The soil is very porous, so the water flows freely through the groundwater. I mean, through the soil. If you pollute in one area, it will move under the ground to another area and contaminate the fresh water. So if you have a spill or exposure to a toxin, it moves everywhere. And Pakistan has a shortage of water right now.
Why?
Oh, well, it's because of the hydrology and the way the water works. It moves too far down in the soil. And so what we're going to do is look at using our filtration system, the one that Sir Gary uses for his water company. We enhanced it with
from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yes, and it's a brilliant man. So the new technology I'm bringing in allows them to filter it more successfully, so you can get the contaminants out in a shorter period of time at less cost. And we're thinking about using that in Pakistan and through the UN. And creating an environment where, when there is contaminated water, we can provide fresh water.
But you were mentioning too, you were going to use a component of AI with this.
Oh, that's
Am I ahead of the game
No,
here?
you're right on top of it.
Okay.
And so yes, the AI entities that I have developed, some of them are making the hydrogen, and in medicine and so on. They're coming of age right now. And what we're going to do in Pakistan, or the proposal is, and I'll get a little ahead of where we're going with the Prime Minister, is simply we're going to survey the land, provide it in a mapping system in the hydrology, much like I did in Suffolk County, Long Island, with ArcInfo, and then create an environment where we can see the quality of the water, and where it's not good, enhance it by getting rid of the pollution, but also protecting it as you do economic development. And currently...
So how do you do that? How do you protect it?
Well, there's a couple of ways of doing it. Once you realize the hydrology and where the water flows from gravity, you can set up rules and regulations that will protect the water, and then also create a watershed. So the AI looks at these things through ground sonar, and we then we create data. Once you have data, you can measure it and manage it. And then once we establish that, we say, okay, here's where the water is, good or bad, and clean it with the technology we're looking at. But additionally, what we're looking at is, okay, while we're doing the surveys to find out what's under the ground, let's find the value that the country has, and then put the country in charge of managing that value in the form of rare earth minerals.
Right.
And then have it so that that country benefits significantly from that value.
So it's not just purifying the water, it's bringing an economy, rising the economy. And you said you were going to use younger people.
Well, here's the thing, that most of the Asian people and the Indian people, they speak more than one language, and they're very good at programming. And because they speak one language, they learn the other languages more successfully.
Oh, wow.
And what we found is that if we train them, so they become the trainer, they can train other people, and they can jump over the economic development, like in the past where there's a lot of pollution, and move into the clean technology very, very fast, successfully. But more importantly, have them become a part of the international community. Because everybody's looking for AI right now, and if you can get those young people, I've trained many of them, to learn AI and start solving their problems in their home, and then training them with other people, over time or overnight, you can really stimulate the economy to start producing value at the high end, not at the low end, which is what happens usually when a country comes in to work with another country and extract mineral rights and other things.
So they're taking away, not
too much,
not adding.
You're right, and we want to keep it local, and that was done by the Japanese. And when they came to the United States, when they really had done a great job on taking over the auto industry, they decided to come into the country and keep a lot of the value in the country so they can develop mutually.
That's
so
beautiful.
Like I said earlier,
it's a win-win situation for everyone.
But where that's occurring, there's no war. Everybody's eating 3 meals a day. They go home to their families and they have a sense of yesterday, today, and tomorrow is all the same. And so that's what we're looking for in any of the economic work we do around the world. In Pakistan and then additionally Bangladesh, I'm looking at things there. India, we're looking at things, but India is well developed.
Is it a different? Is it similar, or is it? Are they different? Are you dealing with different nuances and different needs?
There's a cultural, and then there's also often a religion, a religious aspect of it. But I think there's really two things in business that most people spend maybe $100,000 to $200,000 to get an MBA, and that is there's two rules of finance: more is better than less. And soon is better than later. Right. But if you're saying that more piece, it has to be done ethically. In other words, today when you harvest something out or develop it, you have to make sure it doesn't impact anybody in the future. So we go right along what the UN wants.
Beautiful.
And we think that by doing that in an appropriate manner, you can have low war, you can have a developing economy, you can have education, and you can have peace. So we're looking to do that, and my friend is, we're both going to Pakistan. But I've been participating with Pakistan now for about 5 years.
How did you even get the conversation started? Was it through through the UN, or? Well,
you know, you go out to the UN and you go to business council and you've done international understanding meetings and you meet other ambassadors and you have conversations. And over time, like they say in China, you get the guanxi, the relationship, and they check you out.
I like that, the guanxi. Do we have a guanxi?
We do, absolutely.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Right.
And I'm very thankful for that.
Me too.
You know, you and my dear friend Errol really helped me many times, and I am very thankful for that and your gracious behaviors. God bless you.
I love you too.
Yes, and you guys.
I was the luckiest girl at the Association of Performing Arts, and all these presenters are there, and I have you and Errol, and I have my men.
Well,
it's
that's
great.
Good.
I'm so lucky.
I feel loved and belong to someone again.
Yes,
and it's wonderful.
I loved it. I felt very glamorous.
Well, you are extremely. And very talented and very comfortable in the studio. Thank you very much for making us very comfortable here.
Well, what you're doing is so important. And I also want to tie back, because I had you on another episode, and with Pakistan and the water and the minerals, there's a hydrogen component. You created a hydrogen engine.
Sure. So
can you brag a little bit, please, how you're changing the world?
Usually, you know, like I said many times before, in public I don't speak a lot. This is very unusual for me, but in private.
I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You've deserved it and earned it for your confidence.
Thank you.
So what we have was looking at a way of providing our very advanced hydrogen to power the LPG energy plant in Karachi. And
where's Karachi?
And it's in Pakistan.
In
it's
Pakistan.
One of the,
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I need to work on my geography.
Well, most people don't know anything about Pakistan.
I don't.
And you know, when I was working for NYPD in the 911 system, there was a gentleman there that came from Pakistan, and I learned a lot about it back then in 2007. But in Pakistan, my proposal is somewhere in the future is that they would use my hydrogen in lieu of LPG to run the power plant. And what that would do is reduce the payback period of 20 or 30 years down to maybe 2 years.
What is the payback period?
So to run a power plant, you have to put fuel in there. That fuel costs a lot of money, LPG or any type of diesel, and different types of power plants. By using our hydrogen, we cut the cost.
Well, are you making people mad?
Well, you may make them mad, but the thing that we have is what we provide is we take in CO2 from the air, and we also use the hydrogen to make energy more efficiently than anybody else. And so we're working on that. We had been derailed from the epidemic, but we're getting back on track right now. And then I like to do, as I'm doing one venture, and you find similarity or another entrepreneur that can help you in a similar venture, move together in a team to solve many problems.
I love that about you.
I try all the time, you know.
Yeah.
And the venture that we're looking at right now in there, we think we can go and protect the water, harvest the minerals ethically, all right, and then at the same time retrain the people into AI. And then
the youth.
And
Right.
then, but here's what I'm going to do. I always like to do this in all the ventures. I get a senior person, and then we call them two legs, two young people that want to learn. And then the older person is there to help them transition from what they don't know into the past, into the future.
Into the future.
And the past, you may be done with history, it's not done with you.
Right.
And so that history...
We know that very well, right?
Yeah, it creeps up all the time and wakes me up.
I know.
But the next stage in that is that we're looking at it so that the people get a value as they're doing it, and then they're solving their own problems. And then we get some outside communities, like there's the One Map initiative of the UN I want to tie in.
What's the map initiative?
So Google and additionally the UN is looking at putting everything on a GIS system, and I happen to have one of the very early experiences being an expert in mapping.
What's a GIS?
Geographic Information System.
So like Google Maps?
Yeah, that's what it is. So it's a GIS system, and I've been working with that since '87. And with that,
So are you the one that when I'm on my GPS and Google says, "Oh, Quinn, you need coffee"? Right.
I probably will be with you telling me you've been driving too long and we want you to wake up, stop and rest. Yes, it's probably me there in the background.
Right.
But what we're looking at is you can put all this data on the mapping system so other people can use it, and other countries can use it to see if they have something. You have something they need and vice versa. And the UN is looking at their data and saying, finally they're in the position where they can get their data in a usable format that other people can use around the world. But also governments are realizing businesses have a big jump on them. They have more data than they do. So the governments have to open up to the common people now in order to create some type of balance.
How is that working though in China or something like
Well,
that?
I don't think, I'm not really sure about China, but they're the most progressive in the world. And they are driven by innovation and technology. So I think they already have most of that done already.
Okay.
It's actually the rest of the world that's really far behind the U.S. And
Why? Because of privacy, or?
well, the privacy issues are one thing. I think the other thing is it's something called private property versus common property. And that's really in the Constitution of the United States. But also, the idea is that if you invest in data in a mapping system, you want to get money for it by selling it to someone else.
Right.
So the cost may be too high for someone else. So the UN is looking at this and saying, how do we get open data? And how do we get data so it's cheaper so other people can solve their problems with that? So if you can measure something, collect data, measure something, you can correct it and change it. But if you can't measure it, you're really
So
not
everything
magic.
that you're doing, whether it's the water, the minerals, the hydrogen, everything is measurable
Sure.
and data.
Data driven, just like AI.
AI.
Or analytics, and I spent my career on that, and I'm usually the guy, like NYPD calls me Rain Man after the movie, Rain Man, because I would come in and say, you have a 6% chance of fixing this thing within 3 months if you do it this way.
Tell us briefly about what you did for the New York Police Department.
Well, it's for the 911
The
program.
911.
I went in there under a contract with Gartner and consulting, and what we were establishing was something called IVNV, Independent, Verify, and Validate. So someone builds a system, it's $2 billion. You need to test it, verify it, meaning you tell me, Mr. Vendor, how does this thing work? And
Right.
I agree. But validate is I show the vendor that it does do that.
Right.
And then the person buying the system, New York City, or the 8.1 million people in New York State, they get a value for the money, the tax money they put into something. And that system takes about 22 to 2,800 calls an hour. And everybody
Wow.
calling is in need of something. That's what gets resources to a location. On TV, when they say, in the 911 programs, what is the emergency? No. It's where is the emergency? And then they ask what's happening in New York City.
That is such a good point.
Oh yeah, where is this?
I mean, because it's already happened. I mean, it
Right.
doesn't matter what it is.
Everything's in progress
I
when they
have
give a
goosebumps.
call. Yeah, everything's
right?
in progress when they call, meaning something happened.
Right.
And it's like 9/11. When that was going on, they got 150,000 calls an hour almost.
And how long were you in place with your system at that
I
point?
I wasn't in that time. I was actually the CEO of another company here in New York City where 90% of my customers were number 1 and number 2 World Trade Center. So I wasn't involved with that at the time.
Oh my God.
But what my skill was that they wanted was, can you verify and validate that this system will perform given the load of calls?
So how do you know how to how do
There's
you?
methodologies like the Carnegie Mellon has something called CMMI, EPIC. It's the capabilities maturity model integrated, and EPIC, evolutionary process integrate COTS. So it's a testing method to verify the system does, and it's a heavy engineering process.
Wow.
There are lighter ones like Agile, which are a little bit less rigid.
Mm-hmm. But for these big city and statewide
something
things.
that big at $1 billion, you really have to go through a more rigorous process. At the time, Bloomberg was the mayor, and the system took a long time, because it's complicated, very, very complicated system. But we in New York State or New York City deliver an ambulance in 4.5 minutes, the fastest in the world. Whatever NYPD does, EMS, and the fire department in New York, whatever they do, all 4,700 other 911 systems in America follow, and many of the other countries follow the same thing.
Wow.
So they set the standard, and we have to always thank those people for their service because they do amazing.
Yes, we do.
Yes, and with what's going on in the world, when I go to another country, the first thing I want to know is what's that 911 system look like? And if there's anything I can do to help them, to speak to anybody at NYPD, FDNY, or EMS, I'm happy to do it.
Wow.
Because those people, the only thing that makes it get done is their heart and their commitment to help others. And so if you ever call 911 and you're waiting for something, and they show up on time, the first responders are extraordinary people.
Oh, I know. When Paul was passing, they were
I remember,
I was in. Those medics were just incredible, and getting us to the emergency room, and he was having a seizure, and I just couldn't believe how calm and present they were, and
they're extraordinary
just
people.
very grateful.
Remember it if that system fails, the one that they had prior to the one that I worked on, the thing that makes the thing that their commitment to helping others is what gets you to the hospital and gets you cured, and it's extraordinary. So you're wonderful. What can I help you with?
Right. Well, I just let's go back to your water in Pakistan. We have 5 more minutes, and
fantastic.
I'd like to talk about what are the elements and what do you want people to know that they might not know.
Well, the first thing is that like Sir Gary, I remember speaking to him. I saw the set. They work very hard, and they recognize that they have no support system, unlike here in the United States, where we have extraordinary support systems. To take in
and it takes people like Sir Gary. Did you know I worked for the Committee of 100 for many years?
I actually was with one of the founders at the China Institute recently, and I asked him about that, and he said yes. And I said, wow, that's phenomenal.
I was always, my best friend, Audrey Wu, and I were working together, and they would always say, oh, go find the redhead. And I certainly stood out.
Well, that's easy to find in the room. And it's a beautiful
And we did all
redhead.
their galas. It was wonderful.
I know Yusai Kai's having an event on September 19th and the signing of a book, and she's out like the head of funding for the China Institute, and so it'll be a great event. I think you're interviewing her, right?
I'm hoping to interview
we'll
her.
talk to her.
I was at her. So if you can get me an interview with her, I met
wonderful.
her in Southampton 2 weeks ago, and what a story!
She's the first makeup lady of China.
Yes.
She's the one that brought makeup.
I love it.
Yeah, and she is a very humble person, and she's out helping her. When I met Sir Gary at the Confucius Foundation, she sat at the funding table or the contributors table, and I went over to talk to her, and she was extraordinary.
She's a dynamo.
Oh,
I want to be like her when I grow up.
Well, that's true. She probably wants to be like you. So she, she's looking to raise money, and in Stony Brook, 68% of the students we had, they were Asian.
Really?
Isn't that amazing? 68%.
Were they Chinese or all?
A mixture,
mixture?
Predominantly Asian, predominantly Chinese, but they had 26,000 students there.
Wow.
That's an army.
That is an army.
Yeah, and it's a city, and you're surprised when you go there. You can't believe that the state universities really house that many people. But the state universities, they're regenerating their content so they can really address the AI market. And hopefully in the future.
How do you think AI is that a good thing or is it a bad thing?
It's good and bad, and there was a conference with the Asian Society a few days ago that I attended, and the big question is, really, is it good? Well, yeah, it's good because it speeds up the learning process, and you have a mentor 7x24. And the reason we put a senior person with that in the AI is
because they have history.
They have history to know what's going
and
on.
Wisdom.
Yes, and you can't get rid of that no matter what you do. And every increase in AI that's coming along, you're going to have to still reflect and look over your shoulder because what's behind you.
And the morals too, and that
all
piece
that is
too.
very important.
I was at National Speakers Association. I got to sing for their foundation in Denver, and
you're doing a phenomenal job there. I've read about it. My friend Errol talked about it.
Thank you. But they were talking about AI, and everybody's so afraid of it. But a lot of the speakers were saying you have to embrace it because it's coming no matter
here.
what, and that we can't be afraid of losing jobs or whatever. Because AI, though, doesn't have heart and wisdom like
tool.
we do. It's a tool.
Right, and so the first time I saw AI in a programming format was Lisp, L-I-S-P, in 1987.
That's what I needed when I lisped.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's long gone now. It's much smarter now, and it can really be of value to you if you manage it correctly. It's just like anything else. I mean, electricity was something, and
I know. Our great-grandparent, they enjoyed electricity.
Yep, and so any tool used poorly will have negative effect. If you use it correctly as an additive and later on as it develops to become more centralized, it could be an extraordinary value. And so in countries like Pakistan, where we bring the AI in there, the idea is to foreshorten the period of time it takes to leapfrog over the pollution period and get to a very green economy. And that's what we're planning to do there. And I'm humbled by them asking me. I'm sure there's many other people involved with it, but I'm very happy to take a look
You're
at
You're the right person. Michael, we have only a few more seconds. I just want to thank you so much and thank you for all this work you're doing for the world.
I'm doing my best.
Peace and prosperity and connectivity and connection.
Yes, you're given gifts. And then you're tested in your life on how you help others.
Well, you're doing it. Michael Daly III, I love you.
Thank you very much for having us on.
Thank you. I'm Quinn Lemley. Until next time with Secrets of the Stage.